And now for the tale of the tape in this heavyweight showdown between the Bretonnians, who shall be led by King Louis, and the dinosaurs, who are going to be hounded by a Saurus Oldblood atop his mighty T-Rex. So on that note, guys, let's jump right into this match and have some fun. So as far as the build goes, we're basically just going to be getting a massive horde of peasants. So in total, we do have 5 peasant mobs. And I mean, the front lines could be men-at-arms, so might as well be peasants. Kind of I'm thinking, right, there's going to be Temple Guard, there's going to be elite dinosaurs, but how many shovels and pitchforks can they take before they give out? Well, we're going to be finding out here. And that might actually be like a fun video series. Like how many peasant mobs can you take or how many zombies? I don't know. Who knows? So yeah, basically we're going to have 2 peasant mobs on each side of the formation. And the reason we're doing that is to get them up around the flanks, chase salamanders, chase the big dinosaurs, just be a tar pit. You know, and if an ancient salamander or salamander hunting packs have to deal with 120 peasants, it's going to take them a little while. Yes, they'll probably get terror routed eventually, but the peasant mobs, you know, they'll hold them up and it's just a bit of a distraction and they're so cheap. Also, on top of that, we got 4 groups of men-at-arms in the front line. So these guys are going to be taking a beating for the lady. They're a little bit more resilient than their peasant friends, but 27, 26, and 26, they're going to be fighting Saurus and Skinks. And yes, they'll pretty much lose all those engagements. Although I think men-at-arms actually can trade okay with Skink cohorts and things like that. But yeah, they're going to lose to Saurus and Temple Guard. But again, it's just tar pitting. The main meat of this army is going to be in the Cav, the Green Knight, King Louis, and those type of troops. In the secondary corps, we have a couple halberds, so men-at-arms with polearms, anti-large, armor-piercing, charge defense against large foes. Pretty good against dinosaurs, and they can put up a decent fight against like Temple Guard and elite troops. So we have 2 of those and 1 group of the foot squires in the middle to help give us a little bit more punch and some sustainability in the front line. We got a damsel with Lore of Life, so we have Earthblood and Regrowth, pretty much staples there. Shield of Thorns is also quite good, and arguably I should have got it, but with the Green Knight, I know I'm going to be focusing more on healing, so I decided to kind of not bring that spell. So we have 2 Knights Errant, and obviously this front line isn't going to be winning any beauty contests, and just to make sure that I actually have a fighting chance in the front line, I bring Knights Errant just to cycle charge Skinks and Saurus and troops like that, and just give you some battlefield mobility and pressure. We have 2 Knights of the Realm for anti-large, going to be teaming up with King Louis and his Sword of Couronne, which can melt the armor of dinosaurs, therefore making Knights of the Realm a little bit better. But really, just the heavy hitters in this army are going to be the Green Knight, who I think is so solid against dinosaurs. There are a couple sources of magic damage that can kind of hurt him, but it's not like Skaven. He can actually really burn down big dinosaurs. He hits like a truck, great combat stats, and yeah, he can do some serious work with healing. And of course, Luin up in the sky. So for my opponent, he does have a Heavens Caster, which is going to be good against my hordes of Bretonnian chaff, as I do farm up in blobs, which I inevitably will do with this amount of troops here. He's going to be able to get some really good wind blasts. He does have the Powhawks of Sentinels, which are annoying. They can poke you, they can run, they can drop rocks, they can harass the back line, and they're certainly going to be a thorn in Luin's side. And the front line for him, it's going to be Saurus warriors across the entire front line, 1 group of Croxagores, an ancient salamander. He does have the Coldland Spear Riders in the back with 2 groups of spears, so very well prepared for heavy cav here. And a Saurus Oldblood, who does have the Horn of Kygor to buff up his allied troops. But I think as far as salamanders, he just has the ancient Sally and pretty much a defensive Death Star, which is just going to be kind of grinding through my army. He does have some Temple Guard here. So on that note, guys, let's get this show on the road and see if this horde of Bretonnian peasantry can grind through the dinosaurs. So there's going to be a wind blast going down to the back, which does unfortunately miss my men-at-arms, but it's a very cheap spell, so it's not really a big deal. And King Louin wasn't able to catch these guys because of the Powhawks of Sentinels, much like other Pterodon Riders, do poison damage, so they do slow down Louin. So I'm like, all right, I'm not going to chase those guys, I'm not going to catch them. We'll try again later and see if we can get some value. The peasants are going to be sweeping through the forest, trying to get into the cookie jar of the back line. And the Knights Errant are going to be lining up in the front, getting ready to charge some Saurus. And yeah, it's going to be tough. It's very much Death Star, so my Cav are really going to have their work cut out for them. So the Knights Errant in the front are going to be doing a frontal charge into the Saurus here, trying to get some value against these guys. And it will be okay, but I'm going to be taking some damage back. But yeah, you see, you just charge in, you charge out. That's okay damage, and it's going to make the men-at-arms take a little bit less damage on the impact. The Ancient Salamander is going to be shooting downtown, does some damage to the Knights Errant. The Peasants and the Halberds are going to be attacking the Temple Guards. So this is pretty good, actually. The Temple Guard, of course, will beat down all of these troops, but the Halberds do have AP at least, and we'll be able to grind them. And in the main fight, some juicy blobs here for the Wind Blast. So my opponent has a pretty good target right here, but in the meantime, King Louin is going to be fighting up in the skies against the Powhawks of Sentinels. I was actually attacking his caster, but he decided to intercept me temporarily and kind of keep me from chasing. In the back, I'm going to be getting some Knights of the Realm over here to fight these ancient salamanders, but then the Coldland Spear Riders are going to be emerging from the forest, so a little bit sloppy on my part. I actually didn't really notice those guys in the Death Star here, so he's going to be chasing me, but I have peasant mobs. I got rakes, I got pitchforks. It's not going to be the worst situation, and the frontline fight is underway. It looks like a Wind Blast did go down right here. The Green Knight is going to be anchoring the formation, trying to attack these Croxagores, but he's been a little bit pinned down. Green Knight doesn't really have the best mass. But you know what, guys? The peasant ambush is coming out of the trees, and they're going to be chasing down this ancient salamander. Now, we do have the fight here. Knights of the Realm are attacking Coldland Riders. I decided to take the fight with some peasant mob support, thinking a lot of their models would get a little bit caught up. But the Knights of the Realm are having some problems, especially since he used Harmonic Convergence and the ancient salamander with that pinpoint accuracy, plus the Saurus Oldblood. He just overwhelms my flank. Now, Luin is in here. He's going to be helping the peasant mob. Sword of Couronne has been popped in. He'll certainly do some damage against these guys and kill a couple of the Coldland Riders, which is going to be nice. And up in the skies, the Powhawks Sentinels are going to be dropping rocks. And yes, the Bretonnian formation is kind of collapsing across the front, which is to be expected. So I'm going to be pulling back my Knights Errant, re-engaging some of the peasants, and hopefully the foot squires can at least put a bit of a dent before they break. But you know, the peasants always tend to break, and I do get a huge countercharge here. So the initial fight went pretty bad. He was able to get the harmonic convergence, the jump, but I do get a beautiful countercharge here. So the defenders are coming in. I do also have a somewhat healthy group Knights of the Realm, and we're going to be able to run these guys over. Plus, King Lewin is a pretty powerful duelist. He'll probably be able to do a really good job against this Saurus Oldblood right here, especially since we do have the Green Knight. So the Green Knight is over here attacking the ankles of the Saurus Oldblood, and we're getting some good damage. The Sword of Crone going down, the Horn of Kygor also popping my opponent, but we're getting the upper hand here. You can see that the Saurus Oldblood is taking quite a bit of damage, but the spears are coming over, so I don't want to say in sustained combat, but we do run over the Spear Riders. The Saurus here kind of got pounded out, and my Knights are somewhat healthy. I mean, not healthy, but they're okay. So we're going to be pulling back in a moment, but not before we get some, really good damage on the Saurus Oldblood. Remember, there's no healing, there's no apotheosis in this army, so all the damage you see is pretty much going to be permanent. We do get another Knights charge here with the Knights Errant charging into the back of the Saurus, but it looks like we decided to pull back at the last second. It would have been a good charge, though. So right here, I'm like, we got spears here. Let's leave the Green Knight. He's not going to take any damage because of his ethereal status. We'll send in the peasant mobs, and we'll just kind of fight to the bitter end here and see how that goes. Over here in the front, it's a bit of a disaster for the Bretonnians, but the amount of money I invested in the front line was probably no more than 1,500. It's mostly just like peasant mobs and just chaff. So, and they actually did okay damage. You can see the Saurus and these other troops are a little bit beat up. Crocsgores are healthy, and of course the Saurus Oldblood is, but the peasants are going to be coming back. And we were able to kind of secure the backline position. Lewin is very healthy, so we're doing well in regards to the leadership game, but my opponent is certainly probably winning the battle in terms of just overall troops and just battlefield control. So the Green Knight here is going to be fighting with King Lewin, and they should be able to clean up these Saurus Spears right here, and they do have the support of the peasants. So the Rakes and Pitchforks, I'm telling you, those things are MVPs, and they're going to be charging bravely through the forest to intercept these Crocsgores and these Saurus. Man, that is such a mismatch. Just these giant bestial like warriors just intense. Yeah, so the peasant mobs are going to get crushed pretty bad here, but they're taking a beating for the lady, and a hammering charge coming into the back there with those Knights of the Realm into the Saurus Warriors, and in the back we're able to do some cleanup, which is good. Lewin's going to be getting back up in the sky and looking for an opportunity to fight, but the Ancient Salamander still trolling from the shadows, but alas, the Noble Knights of Bretonnia are going to be mustering in the forest, and not Knights, but the Men-at-Arms and these other peasants are going to be charging back out, and are going to be applying pressure. I'm just kind of throwing bodies at him as much as I can, just trying to inundate the back line here, and it's kind of working, I guess. It's hard to tell. So the Crocsgores have taken the high ground here. They're going to be fighting, but the Knights of the Realm do get a huge charge, and Lewin's going to be jumping in as well. So this is a chance for me to grab a really high-value unit. Lewin's going to be able to kill these guys pretty quick, especially with the support of the Knights of the Realm. You can see the Croxies are taking some serious damage. They're down to about half health, even less, and they're shaken. So this is a really good grab, and it looks like a Wind Blast is going to be going down the formation here, doing some pretty good work against my Halberds right there. So nice cast from my opponent. But the Saurus and company are going to be pushing up the hill, but the Green Knight and the peasants, the Green Knight does cause terror, and these low-tier Lizardmen troops I hesitate to call Saurus. That's an insult to them. They're definitely like a mid-tier in terms of infantry, but they, they're susceptible to terror routing, so we could get some value there. In the back line, the peasant mobs are just surging out of the forest, just swamping. They got their rakes, they got their pitchforks, and they're just beating these guys down, 1 HP at a time. The Salamander did have to move right there because of the peasants, so that's basically what I'm using them for. Just an annoying thing just to target the battlefield and, eventually get me some value. Now, King Lewin is still doing great. The Crocsgores have taken a lot of damage. They're actually routing right now, which is great. But again, all my peasants and supporting elements here are going to be routing. So Lewin is going to be in a fisticuffs fight with the Saurus Oldblood, but this is not good. He has a lot of supporting elements. He has the Saurus here, and they have the Horn of Kygor. Therefore, their melee attack's 54. They're going to be able to make pretty square contact here. But on the low ground, we do eventually get down these spears with the help of the Green Knight and my Damsel, and we do have some Knights coming back in. So the Knights of the Realm, they were chasing something off the battlefield before, but they're going to be coming back in here and hopefully do some good work. Now, I do have a couple troops rallying that I need to pull back here. The Halberds especially, but over here in the forest, the Halberds have come back out, and, these spears are getting worked down. Got some Men-at-Arms and these other troops, and somehow, some way, I'm actually ahead on the bounce of power. And the Ancient Salamander's just been getting chased this whole battle. I've been trying my best to kind of stick on him, but he still has used all his ammo, so my opponent's done pretty good in that respect. But Lewin is really just winning the leadership fight. Every time the Saurus Oldblood comes in, Lewin plus the Green Knight are really able to just goon squad. You can see the Green Knight's going to be coming in right here. And we're going to be charging after the Saurus Oldblood, so the Green Knights are weaving through the forest and trying to get an angle. And here he comes. So yeah, this guy's in some trouble. 2,000 HP. The Green Knight gets a huge charge. He has really good AP values. Able to take down about 300 HP right there. So the Saurus Oldblood's going to be going pretty low here, Bob, and it looks like he's going to be getting the Powhawks, the Sentinels, and maybe some other elements to come in. He does attack Lewin, which is going to be probably applying poison from the darts, although they are out of ammo, so maybe no more poison. And the Green Knight's just going to be chasing the Oldblood. I'm like, yeah, Lewin's going to have trouble catching him anyway, so they might as well fight and, try and win this hill fight. And you can see the Temple Guard, just the rakes and pitchforks are slowly working those guys down. The Saurus and company are getting a little bit beat up, and, just waves and waves of just haggard Bretonnians are coming back in, which is great. And the Green Knight's trying to keep up with the Saurus Oldblood, but again, he has better mass. He can push through, and Ancient Salamander also causes terror, so they just come in and get a mass terror out in this formation. But like I said, bounce power is still in my favor because of the Green Knight and King Lewin. Those guys are really holding down the battle, despite the fact that I don't have much else. Over here, I do have some Knights of the Realm who are going to be charging those Saurus Warriors, hopefully breaking them with the help of this Damsel. And Lewin is going to be going in and trying to finish off this caster, for this lord. So we jump on the Saurus Oldblood. We unfortunately don't make contact. He's able to kind of dodge the attack here. And the Saurus Oldblood's going to be pulling back in maybe. Green Knight's a little bit locked up. He doesn't have great mass, like I said. He's a little bit pinned in here. Saurus have really good mass, actually. So he's able to kind of hold me in. And unfortunately, Lewin does miss all 3 of his attacks right there because of the juke. So I'm not able to get great contact here. And the Saurus Oldblood, are we going to get him? Do we make contact right there? We do. We actually get another 300 damage. So it's finally starting to make contact. And the Bretonnians, just much like a vermin infestation, are going to keep coming back here. So you can see the men-at-arms and the peasants and all these guys are going to be just charging out of the forest. Look at these brave sons of Bretonnia coming out of the forest to lend their pitchforks and their rakes to the Green Knight here. And it looks like they might be able to overwhelm this formation of Saurus with the help of the Green Knight. Hard to say. So Lewin is going to be sweeping in here, but this was a really bold strategy, Cotton. Not a good one for sure. So King Lewin swoops in here. He gets some good damage on the Saurus Oldblood, but there's a Salamander, there's Temple Guard here. There are a lot of troops that can really do a lot of damage to Lewin, so the situation is not so great right now. And the Horn of Kygor is going to make them even juicier, plus he recharges me with the Plowhawks of Sentinel, so very good play from my opponent, actually pulling the Bouncer Power back towards the middle. He's going to be able to pound Lewin a little bit, so I pop all my defensive buffs, and from here I'm going to be trying to escape out the flank. And the Green Knight's trying to get over here to help, but the Bounce Power is creeping back towards the middle. Over here we do have the Damsel, who with some very tattered Knights of the Realm was actually able to beat up these Crocsgors, so that's a nice little grab right there. But Lewin has to pull back here. Very, very scary stuff. So we're going to be trying to reunify our forces. We have the defenders, we have some men-at-arms, a couple troops, but not too many left. The Bretonnians have come back from route like 3 or 4 times, and like now they're getting a little bit tired of this shit. And Lewin's up in the skies, and he's a little bit shaken. And he's going to be actually taking a fight with the Skink Priest with the Lord of Heavens. My opponent trying to finish off Lewin and break him while he's shaken, which is a good idea. But you never underestimate the King. The King is coming in, and he's going to be able to beat up this Skink Priest. I still did have the Sword of Corone, so at the very end of it, so I was able to get some debuffs initially. And Lewin is at his healing cap, unfortunately, but he's laying a whooping on the Skink Priest with Lord of Heaven, so that's just keeping me in the game just barely. And the Green Knight's fighting against the Ancient Salamander here, which is going to be a huge favor for the Green Knight. The Green Knight is going to win this fight, especially with the Dolores Blade popped. Look at his weapons rank. 620, charge bonus of 92, 94 melee attack. He's going to give the dirty business to this Ancient Salamander, showing this wild feral beast who the King of Bretonnia is, or a true king, I guess, or the first king. I don't really know the lore on it. Anyways, the Green Knight coming in here, beating down the Ancient Salamander, and you can see the Saurus Oldblood looking to get involved, but he probably doesn't want to engage because if he does get hit once, it could be really bad. But King Lewin is literally fighting for his country right now. He's fighting for his life, fighting for this army right here, and yeah, he's going to be going after the Plowhawks of Sentinels, maybe going to be able to drag those guys down, and it looks like he certainly is. Those guys are shaken. And once Big Daddy Lewin gets back in the fight, he's going to be able to get the Damsel's help and some of these Knights and maybe just aid the Green Knight. And look at the Green Knight just doing work against this Ancient Salamander. And there's not too much magic damage in this army. Like the Star Chamber Guardians would have been able to kill the Green Knight really quick. But the fact that he didn't have too much magic damage, that was like single target. He had Wind Blast and things like that. But the Green Knight is just so good in this matchup. I really like him quite a bit. I mean, if they bring like Arcane and Forging, you're going to be in pretty bad shape. But for the most part, I think he's a pretty solid little investment. So he's going to be chasing down the Ancient Salamander, who is now shattered. And the bounce power pretty heavily in the favor of the Bretonnians, as King Lewin is able to survive that escapade in the air. And he's going to be coming back in just a moment and uniting with the Green Knight. And the Green Knight's going to be getting in there. And, you know, he's tanky. I still had 1 Earthblood left, so I was like, let's get in there and go fisticuffs. The Green Knight's just going to charge in here and fight these guys and, you know, just grind. I mean, he's going to take a lot to kill, so he's going to be able to potentially tear out some of these Saurus, and we'll see how it goes. Saurus Oldblood down to 638 HP, and the Skink Priest up in the skies, 1,454, so still a somewhat fighting capacity, but Lewin's coming in. He is pissed off from being chased around the battlefield in those poison darts all game, so he is coming back. The Bretonnians still have a couple troops here. So we got some men-at-arms, we got some defenders of Fleur de Lis, and also the Damsel of Lore of Life is another heroic character, so I was just waiting for everyone to get back before we use another Earthblood. And the Saurus Oldblood goes pretty balls deep here. He charges the Green Knight, gets a nice little swipe, but if the Green Knight gets him back, it's going to be hard. And the Green Knight does miss his attack right there, unfortunately. So we push back in. The Horn of Kygor has been popped to give melee attack to all these different characters. And Lewin does come in and get a jump on the Skink Priest, which he's faster. He has 100 speed against 90 of the Skink Priest, so the Skink Priest could have ran a little bit, but really he just couldn't. Lewin would have caught him eventually, which I would have probably just ran with the Green Knight and chased down the Skink Priest to make sure I kill him, because eventually I will get him. So Lewin is going to be chasing that guy off the battlefield, which is going to be nice. The Green Knight is going to be holding the line here, and the Bretonnian peasants are going to be coming in. So men-at-arms, brave lads are going to be charging in. They got no shields. They were too cheap, too much budget for that, and yeah, they're going to be charging into the back of these guys, and maybe getting a kill on the charge. Doesn't look like it. Looks like the swords are actually going to turn around and just beat them down, which is to be expected, but Earthblood is going to be going off, hitting the Green Knight, officially putting him at his healing cap, but my opponent is going to be going after my Damsel here, but I had a couple of the defenders. So the defenders are going to be defending the Damsel, which is, you know, quite thematic here, and the King descending from the sky is going to be coming in and attacking the Saurus Oldblood in the back, and despite the teabagging of the dinosaur, King Lewin is going to be giving this guy the furious business, and you can see with that, the Saurus Oldblood does fall, and the dinosaur army is going to be sent into disrepair. well played to my opponent. It was a very fun game for sure. Very close, and I really just think I thought I didn't have a chance like as the battle went on, but King Lewin, the Green Knight, did some really good work. The Knights tried their best. It was really hard to get those good engagements, but honestly, it was just King Lewin, the Green Knight, carrying the game on their back, plus like just the hordes of peasants just tar pitting things. It actually worked pretty well. Like I didn't have a lot of like heavy punch, but we just kind of grinded that battle out. It was very much like playing Death Guard in Tabletop 40K. So very well played to my opponent, Ryzen. Look forward to running into you again on ladder. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this Bretonnian versus Dinosaur game. We will see you guys next time. Take care.